fucking clankers. Fucking clankers.
We usually just start talking
clankers.
and then Jen does the formal intro thing and then we roll from there.
Because I'm kind of bossy. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Wait, Jen, what's your sign?
I am a Sagittarius.
Oh
See?
my God. I love Sagittarians.
See that's where we'll start it right there.
That's where we'll start
Jen's
it.
sign.
Yeah. Wait. Okay, Jesse, what's your sign?
I'm a Libra.
Libra. I was going to say Virgo. Libra. Okay, and
Yeah.
Abigail, your turn.
Oh, I'm an Aries. So I'm really feeling the energy right now. Mars and Venus also in Aries, but you guys are the two signs that I get along with the most.
Oh, we'll see.
Get
That
out
works
of
out good.
town.
Yeah, well, because Libra and Aries I'm not an astrologer, but my dad is, so I grew up around it.
Oh, how cool is that?
I know.
Oh, that's way
so
cool.
lucky.
Okay, but we were also, at least to my friends, we were the weird family growing
That's
up
the
in
best family, though. Everybody.
a small conservative Ohio town.
Right.
Oh my gosh. But I bet you a nickel, everybody thinks of your family now so fondly. Like, I wish our family had been more like that.
Yeah. Oh, when I tell
Right?
people how I grew up, they're like, wow, that's so cool. And I was like, it was
know.
not cool at the time, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
You
was
know?
just normal, like I'm a teenager family stuff, and everything's annoying.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
We all, but if you believe in it, and I really have come to is that like we pick this journey for ourselves. That doesn't mean we don't have deep empathy for when we hit pit holes and awful things happen to us. But I do feel like I picked this family and definitely my family was absolutely not woo. And to this day, and now one of my dads, I have two, but one crossed over. And one of his first messages to me was, it's not your job to tell your mom, to teach your mom about this. I'm going to do for her when she dies what you did for me and I didn't get it till I was dead. I understand what you did because I made like a little karmic car wash for him. And, we had some serious trauma because, anyway, yeah,
I mean, who doesn't?
There was some like abuse there and stuff. So it's like, it was very complicated, but he goes, I'm going to do the same thing for your mom. So don't waste your energy trying to like enlighten her, inform her, teach her. It's not your job. Wow. So I let that go. It felt like a gift to be able to let it go.
That's actually your dad has given me messages now because
really I have
goosebumps
all over.
I have always felt, for whatever reason, that it's like my duty and my job to like show people the way, if that makes sense, which is
it resonates.
Super arrogant.
It isn't arrogant. It's actually selfless.
I would argue it comes from the right place, which I that's what I get from you.
Me too.
I don't think it's arrogant at all.
Yeah, it's just with all my fiery energy. Sometimes I can get a little with it.
I know fire energy. I hear you with that.
They're like, let's take it down a notch, Abigail, and I'm like, no.
We're going to go scorched earth.
If the universe is sending you the messages, what are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? You're just supposed to not tell people,
You have to because I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else's body or experience, but I feel so sick. Like I had this message I had to deliver and I'm at this cat groomer and I left and I was like, my stomach got worse and worse. And I went, are you fucking kidding me? I have to drive back there and give this message and I don't even know who it's for and what it is. But it's like my guides were like, yeah, you're going to get so sick. You're going to be puking all day. And I went, oh, wow. So I dropped my cat back home who'd been groomed and I drove back there, parked in the lot and I went to the door and I went, I don't really want to go in. And then my stomach just clenched and I went, okay, fine. And I went in and I said, I have a message to deliver. Is there somebody whose mom died of maybe a drug overdose? And she was like, oh my God, how? Yeah, I do. Just a second. And then I had to deliver a message and apparently it was and I said, your mom said she can't reach you and you feel like you can't reach her since she died. And she goes, yeah, how do you even know this? And I said, but she's everywhere. And if you want her to, she'll show up as ladybugs. And she goes, or the colors red and black. And she goes, you've got to be kidding me. This is the day that she overdosed. Like, this is the anniversary of it.
What?
And I went, you can't make this shit up. And I was just
No.
like, as soon as I delivered the message, and she goes, can I hug you? And I said, absolutely. And we just held each other for a long time, and we both bawled our faces off. And I said, yeah, so I guess your mom said that she's going to show up as Ladybugs if you want her to, but if you want anything else, she can change and show up as that. She goes, oh my God. Okay. Thank you. And as soon as I delivered the message, my body felt great. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm done for the day. Went home and took a little nap.
You get like a gold star, like job well done.
I should.
Yeah.
That would be
Like,
really nice.
Up in the clouds, they're like, yep, Jen did it today.
Check.
Look at that.
She actually heard the message. She didn't have to puke her face off.
She's doing the Lord's work, or, if you don't believe in the Lord, whatever you believe in, there's a lot of options for folks out there.
Oh my God. I feel like we jump cut into the episode, but I got to experience your Reiki amazing gifts that you have. And I had my dog Cooper with me on the bed. And it was crazy because he had all this crazy energy, even though he's an old dog. And he just settled right into it. And it was just such a wonderful experience. So
those pictures you posted are gold, by the way. It's like your dog's like, I'm all right. I feel it too.
He totally did. Oh my gosh.
He was like zenned out. He was like monk mode. He's like, yeah.
He was, but tell us about your journey and how you got to be in the place that you are.
Do the intro, Jen. Do the intro.
Oh, Abigail is a trauma-informed Reiki specialist. She describes herself as having gone from trauma survivor to thriver. She understands the delicate nature and importance of both trauma recovery and spiritual awakening at a human scale, having the experience of that lived-in experience. She's an artist and she's based in Joshua Tree, California. I am so excited to have you here. I really am.
Thank you. Well, that was a great intro. And
see why she does the intros?
Yeah, I love it. You're really good. And you're always, your energy is so vivacious and sparkly. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be around that.
Yay. Oh,
it was between her and that guy that they got now to like do the Price is Right. That's so, I mean.
Wait, who's doing the Price is Right now?
I don't know.
What happened to Bob Barker? What rock have I been living under?
I think he retired.
What was the announcer guy? Remember?
Isn't it Drew Carey?
Oh,
is it Drew Carey that's
Drew
doing
Carey
it?
No,
sure.
I vote for Jen. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love you guys. Okay.
His name, you know what his name was? Rod Roddy.
No.
Rod Roddy.
No.
I don't even remember that.
He was the guy that was the announcer. He was the guy that went, Abigail, come on down. He was that guy.
I do know that voice. I feel like he was wearing like a.
I mean, I did the worst impression of him ever, but he was that guy.
But we'll not make it about that. Let's make it about you, Abigail.
Okay.
You are amazing. So tell us about you and your journey and how you started getting in touch with your spiritual self. It sounds like from what we talked about prior to even like starting officially, like it came from your family, but your own journey on this path.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was raised in a very open home. I didn't know it at the time, but as I got older, my parents were like, yeah, we thought you should sort of, rather than put you in a box, allow you to unfold into who you are. So we tried not to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like lean me in push me in any certain direction. So I got a pretty healthy education very young about different religious and spiritual traditions of the world. I mean, my house was filled with artwork from Celtic, Druids, pagans, Buddhism, and the different sects of Buddhism, SECTS people, not SEX. The different sects.
It's not that kind of show. I can never,
yeah. It not that kind of show. It may be explicit because there's the F word in our intro music, but no.
It's not that kind of show.
Sects.
Oh, I know. I can never say that word right. I don't know why.
I fuck it up all the time.
My tongue and my teeth don't coordinate there. But, from Tibetan Buddhism to Zen Buddhism, just all sorts of different artwork, a lot of Native American things as well. So I grew up with I mean, okay, Jesse and I will definitely vibe with this. We grew up watching, like The Never-Ending Story, which is basically, if you watch it as an adult, a giant shamanic journey.
It
Okay.
totally is.
I just watched Never Ending Story again, like not even a month ago. Yeah.
And all, I remember there was this movie, I think it was called She-Ra or something. It was about this woman that was like a princess or a queen. She would ride zebras bareback and she was like this hero figure. And I used to pretend that I was her. I would like gallop around my living room.
Oh, was it like, was it Sheena?
Maybe it was Sheena.
Wow.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll put it
We'll figure it out.
I'll put it in the notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. So
That's
anyway,
so powerful.
Yeah, it was a very, aside from what was popular in media at that time, it was a very open, mystical experience growing up. We celebrated pagan holidays. The winter solstice was a big tradition in my household, as well as celebrating Christmas. I went to Unitarian churches. I went to a Baptist church with a friend once. I've been to Tibetan temples. So I was exposed to a lot, and I was always curious. And lo and behold, I didn't realize about me talking to animals until I was in Rachel White's spiritual coaching program. And after, she's like, you have this thing with animals. And I was like, really? Oh, I do like them. Yeah, But she sort of was like, pointing to, so how they say we can't see the forest through the trees, if that's the correct expression here.
Yeah.
But I wasn't seeing what was obvious and right in front of me. And Rachel's like, hey, look at this direction. And then I looked back over my life. I looked at, the books that were most influential to me were about animals.
Oh my gosh.
That changed me, that still sit with me. I mean, I read The Trumpeter Swan in second grade, and it still is in my soul. I look at all these photos of me, and it's like, oh, there's me and a turtle. Well, there's me and a snake. Oh, there I am on a horse. I threw a temper tantrum at 11 that I needed to ride a horse or I was going to die. Like I would die of a broken heart. I was like threatening my parents, and they did put me in horse camp that summer.
A pony camp. Well, I love that. And even that part of your journey so far, even with the animals, and to not have noticed it. So many people out there take their innate talents for granted. They blow past them. They're invisible to them somehow. It's oh yeah, everybody's good at that, or everybody loves animals, or everybody communicates with them. It's like, no, it's special about you.
I think we get it programmed out of us.
Is that what it is?
I think we do. Yeah, yep. I agree.
Sure. It's in school, in culture, society, whatever it is. And especially now, there's so much, I was talking with a friend the other day who works in marketing and entertainment. Yeah. And this friend was saying that, we used to have, 7 seconds to capture people's attention. Now we have 2 seconds.
What?
2 seconds.
Yeah, because of the videos,
dopamine hits
scrolling.
And the scrolling, the doom scrolling.
And that is not healthy, but
it isn't.
We can maybe get to that, but
we can talk about that as much as you want to, because I'll jump right up on that soapbox with you.
Me too. And then we're going to crush the soapbox because I'm going to jump up there too.
It's gonna break under our weight and
exactly
our cries.
I can lift you up, Abigail, like a cheerleader, like the base cheerleader.
Abigail, I loved your post the other day when you were like, "Hey, I got off of all social media except Substack," and I was like, "Yeah, that's what everybody's doing."
Found it's so my profiles are still there, and maybe I'll go back at some point. I can at least check to see if someone's messaged me from my computer, but I had to take the apps off the phone, the Facebook, the Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I left that a long time ago.
You have to have it. You know what I mean? For what you do,
I know, which is very frustrating, and I'm trying to figure out a way to not do that. But even I'm
trying not to get back on it. You know what I mean? So,
well, and the thing with Facebook is I have a lot of extended family that's on there too. So that's also really a way for me to
get that,
and they're, 60s, 70s, 80s. They're not doing Instagram,
No, they're not.
I mean, but, what was I going to say?
But you took it off your phone. You said
I took it off of my phone because I found that I would wake up in the morning just to check.
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the healing work or my work as an artist, I was like, I gotta check out. We just done. Bye.
Yeah.
It was overstimulation city. And I know that I'm sensitive, probably neurodivergent.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are.
I wonder about that too. Because
Right.
even the reading I've been doing, I'm like, maybe I should look into like getting tested for some of these things just to give me a framework to
Right.
figure out how I want to move forward. Because for me, and why I do spiritual work is I find that it provides a lot more answers that make sense to me. And I find that, the field of psychology is limited. The field of medicine, or at least Western medicine, is limited. Nothing's really holistic in its view, which is why I lean more towards, nurturing my own connection with the divine and focusing on my own energy work and sound and all of those things, because I'm very sensory oriented and highly sensitive. So those are the things that make sense and give answers where I feel that those frameworks, traditional frameworks, sort of fail. It's the same with like entertainment, politics, technology. None of them really covers everything. They give you an answer, but it's not necessarily the answer. It might just be the answer that a product can be made, marketed, and sold, keep you on the consumption train.
Exactly. Well, and also I'm really like, I have a psychology degree and a communications degree, and the ego, but that psychology degree, they villainize the ego, and the ego is what kind of kept us going. It doesn't mean the ego gets to be the driver of the car. It can sit in the back seat and speak in a nice tone of voice, a pleasant tone of voice. It doesn't get to shout over the other ones. That's when you say, hey, okay, thank you. I see you. I can hear you, but you're going to wait your turn. Raise your hand, ego, in the back seat. And so there's so much that they don't teach you about. You need all those parts of you, and they've all been working since, our ancestors. It's in our DNA strand, and they're keeping us alive. But how do we thrive? Well, you have a little bit more balance. And that really does come from being quiet. And that's the thing that connects to the technology and that dopamine and that doom scrolling is people don't know how to do nothing and be bored anymore. And that actually is the medicine I think we all need a lot more of. That's just
that's the guidance I've been getting. I mean, that's why, I moved just over a year ago. I moved from Los Angeles after almost 20 years out to Joshua Tree. I knew I was supposed to move here. My guides were telling me to move here. I said, how am I going to move here? They sort of made a miracle happen. And then I got here, and the pace of life is very different. And it's still I'm adjusting, because I'll go into like productivity mode and it's like, slow it down. That's not how things kind of move out here. So I'm still, but they're always like,
how early do you show up places? The reason I'm asking is because when I moved out of Los Angeles back to Texas, like I was literally everywhere like an hour early, because like I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, there's not traffic here. You know what I mean? Because my brain was like, okay, how long is it going to take me?
Building the time.
How long is it going to take me to get to the fucking valley? All right, I got it,
Yeah, you're like, how long is it going to take me to go 10 miles? You're like, cool, 45 minutes. So let me
exactly. Yeah. So I was showing up everywhere like an hour early, because it takes a while for you to like readjust, And
my God, I wish that was me. I am perpetually, if it's social, if it's work related, I'm on time, or, 5 to 10 minutes early. But if it's social, it's not like a deadline for me. It's really hard for me to shift gears and just get my act together to get out the door. So I'm perpetually like 10 to 15 minutes late to any social gathering.
So did it take you a long time to get used to the pace of like the desert? And was there anything that you added to your day or to your rituals of the day that helped you to kind of get in sync with the desert pace of life?
So what's really helpful for me, because I live in a little homestead cabin that's renovated, and it's on 3.5 acres of land. So I'll take my yoga mat, as long as it's nice out to one of the Joshua trees. I have a lot of Joshua trees on my land. I'm looking out at them right now, out of the window, and I'll go do yoga and meditate and breathe underneath this tree that I also talk to. And
I love that. I love people that talk to trees. That's literally me.
Oh, they have names.
Goosebumps.
The boulders in the park, I connect with them. And sometimes my driveway is a dirt. I live on a dirt road too. So my driveway is a big dirt road, but there's a circle around the house. So I'll walk in a circle around the house, sort of, you know, how they have those spiral like walking paths.
Yeah,
for
like the
meditation.
labyrinths.
Yes, the labyrinth. Thank you. So I'll just walk in a circle around my house, or I'll start to venture out into the yard and kind of just orient myself with what insects do I see? What birds do I hear? What plants am I seeing? I got all the apps to identify all these. So that I find really grounds me and slows down my most often, especially right now. I don't know if it's what's in the sky, the astrological stuff, but I'm having a real hard time slowing down. So that is what dials it back for me. So I'm still, kind of getting accustomed to this slowing down and not feeling guilt for not working, even though I know, because I've experienced since moving here, when I do slow down and I do take that space, when I do my shamanic journeying meditations, it opens up so much.
Exactly.
Like, wow. That place is magical too. I mean, it's
where you're at.
That's one of those places where it's different. It's have you spent a lot of time out there, Jen?
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time there. We did a lot of driving through it too as a kid.
I remember the first time I drove to LA, didn't know when I just moved out there, just didn't know anyone, didn't know what I was doing. You get into that section of desert where she's talking about on 10, and like you feel it. You're just it's almost like I'm on another planet right now. I have literally like crossed some veil, and I'm not in the two states of desert that I just crossed through. This is different.
I'm so glad you said that, because there's actually how I ended up moving here was I think it started in 2018 or 2019. I don't remember. I decided on a whim, I'm like, I've never been to Joshua Tree. I'm going to drive out there and go on a hike in the park on my birthday, for my birthday, just spend some time alone in the park. And I had such a great time that I did it the next year, except I decided instead of a day trip, I'd stay overnight. And then it just kept expanding, and it became a tradition that I would do every year for my birthday. And I wouldn't want to come back, because I would notice there's a specific spot on the freeway on the 10 where I would when I'm leaving LA, I would get to this spot, and all of a sudden I would feel everything shift. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's real. And if you try to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it, they think you're nuts. They're like, yeah, dude, it's just the desert. Yeah. The Joshua trees and stuff, but it's like, no, it's not the same.
There's like this beautiful contradiction where it's like, you see that it's the desert. So it's sparse, it's dry, water means more. Every bloom took, more. It's somehow, but so it seems like it should be scarcity, but it's so abundant. You realize in one breath that everything is there and everything's in harmony and everything is perfect. I don't know. It's just this kind of weird, beautiful contradiction.
I've always felt that way. People look at the desert and they think death and scarcity, and I've always looked at it as a space of expansion and resilience, and a reminder that it is innate in us to thrive and have vitality. Because if there are things out here, hundreds of species, across plants and animals out here surviving, living, flourishing. I mean, right now we've got all this super bloom going on. You're just like, wow, okay. So it always reminds me, no matter what my environment is, because I did go through a period of pretty intense trauma when I was with an acting guru. It was a very high control culty situation linked to Scientology. So for me, it's always been a reminder of like, despite your circumstances, you can, thrive and come out of that, or just follow the rhythms and the cycles that nature already exhibits for us, and you'll be there.
That's suspended animation, and then like everything comes alive and things get right. Everything starts to bloom. That place is not scarce out there at all.
No. Abigail, this is a weird question, but was there a sense for you, a looking out at the desert, that you had a remembering of parts of you or lifetimes that you had forgotten that you miss, like a dear friend?
Yes. So part of what would happen when I would come out to hike, and not a weird question at all, is I mean, I guess people today would call it a download, but I felt like I could actually hear myself.
Wow.
And since I started doing these trips just before COVID and the pandemic, it sort of coincided with this space of the world going silent and me being able to hear myself again and remember who I was, remember my childhood, remember those, because I had all but buried those, spiritual aspects of myself. And, I knew I was sensitive. I always knew I was sensitive. But I didn't think much beyond it. And it wasn't until the combination of, being out here on those hikes and simultaneously, because I came once for my birthday and then it turned into like multiple times a year. And so I was just like, how fast can I get to the desert? How soon? Because it was like an escape, because I was remembering. And that coincided with COVID, which kind of, removed me from the physical vicinity of the mentor that was abusive. And I left. And so that simultaneous remembering coincided with a very rocky spiritual awakening. And all these things merged together, right time, right place. And I left the environment that was not conducive to me being who I was. And then I started going, wait a second, I forgot about all these parts of myself. And then everything else just came online, like the intuitive stuff, the psychic stuff, starting, getting my Reiki attunement, starting to work with clients, creating my whole business. And before I did the Reiki, actually, is when I started it with artwork. Because I had I was doing a meditation because I have all this collection of crystals from my grandfather, antique crystals that he tumbled and polished himself. And he made jewelry with them, but I don't make jewelry. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with all these? Like, I have to do something with them. So I did a meditation and he like showed me an image in my meditation. And I went, oh my God, I'm supposed to make art. So that's how I started doing the paintings that fuse color therapy with crystals. I call it frequency shifting art.
They're beautiful.
It's, it's a functional healing art piece.
They work.
They do.
Just looking at
just
them, like
looking at them online.
Yeah, just looking at pictures of them online.
Yep.
It's when I look at it, I'm like, not only is it so cool in the way that you do blend the colors in together, and I really get a whole chakra thing feeling, that sort of thing going on with it. What a cool idea, and
it's amazing.
How it came to you is also super cool.
Yeah, that is amazing. And they're your grandfather's stones that he had, and crystals and things. Wow.
Yeah. And so it's also a limited supply. So now because I started with small, like 10 by 10, 12 by 12 pieces, I eventually moved to bigger pieces, and I would then source crystals where I trusted the person I was getting them from. I started incorporating bigger crystals because they were bigger pieces, but I would still always include at least one of his crystals to honor him. So it was really, I guess, and part of my painting process, especially early on, was I'm not classically trained as a visual artist, but I am classically trained as a performing artist. So, decades of voice, speech, movement, acting, all of that. But the painting, although I did paint, when I look back at childhood, my first loves, the thing I did most first, writing and painting.
Wow. So you've recaptured that. I have goosebumps all over my body.
I've gone like full circle and then just kind of expanded out. So the painting, how it works for me, and I sort of developed these workshops that I was teaching in LA before I moved here, where it was really about getting back into your body and connecting with your own innate intuition and wisdom, so that when you're painting, it's like, my therapist actually calls it paint how you feel. So I'm moving my hand. I'm sort of trusting, like, hey, spirit, help me out here, and trusting myself and going, how does the brush want to move? And what are these colors doing to make me feel? What's the healing intention here? And just sort of, making it all work together. And it becomes this process that kind of transmuted a lot of trauma for me and helped me reclaim my sense of self, my power, but also really kickstarted my clarity on my point of view as an artist, because that's a big thing in the acting entertainment world as an actor. When you're doing work, what's your point of view? What's your point of view? What's your point of view? And you can't have a point of view unless you've had some life experience. And so the painting really ended up informing my acting and vice versa, and the spiritual work. Because to me, shamanism, you go on a journey, you merge with your power animal. Actors do that every time they're merging with a character.
Yeah, good point.
I'm writing a piece about it for Substack, but it's not out yet, but I'm working on it.
Should turn that into a whole book.
I agree.
Yeah.
What I did want to say, because this is, appropriate for your podcast, the paintings, because I would get a lot of those people reaching out on Instagram. It's like, hey, turn it into digital art. And I'm like, bro, it's 3D. It's never going to be digital.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you can't.
Human made.
That's right. Human hands.
Hey.
Yeah.
It cannot be.
That's the magic.
Hey, Chad, crypto bro. It's not going to be an NFT. It
isn't. So
that's what they were trying to get me to do NFTs. And I was like, do you even look at my work? Like, it's the crystal is giving you energy when
that's
you're.
That's exactly right.
I had people that were on that train, you know what I mean? They were trying to turn anything into an NFT. They're just trying to cash out while people were just being dumbasses and like spending that much money,
It's kind of adjacent, but your grandfather was giving me a message. And so I feel like I need to say it. Otherwise, he's like, I won't make you feel sick. But he showed me this big terracotta, the terracotta catch basin for a big terracotta pot. And in it are all these stones. And he said, just lay it out during, a time that you're thinking of me, and I'll touch all those, and I'll still be a part of your artwork. So I don't know. I'm just delivering that. Whatever. I don't know.
I love that.
That resonates. But a giant hawk just flew over. This seems to be the pattern with me. A giant hawk just flew over the house as that was happening. So,
wow. Yeah. Well, hawks were one of the first things when I was kind of going through my spiritual awakening. I was walking my dog and we went off trail at this nature preserve, and I stumbled upon a dead hawk. And I was like, and I mean, it was inches from my feet. I had to like pull Hero, my dog. I had to pull her back because I didn't want her to get into it. And I was like, oh. And then later that day, I saw another dead bird on the sidewalk. And I was like, okay. Or I would find not one feather, not two feather. I'd find 100 feathers. One time I found a whole dismembered raven wing.
Wow.
And this was all happening
my right side.
Boom, 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 boom. And within that time frame, my dog was also attacked. I sprained my ankle and I got bit by a dog, and I got bit by a rattlesnake. Rattlesnake bite was my fault, by the way, folks.
Jesus.
So I had quite the initiation.
So that was your initiation. So how did you survive it?
I don't know. It was during COVID.
Oh my God, are you Googling? What to do about a rattlesnake bite?
What are you doing, Jesse? What are you doing? I mean, I did make myself a lot of margaritas at that time.
I'm not currently in the desert.
They are a sort of medicine.
But I am in East Texas, which is basically like just think of like True Detective season 1. That's exactly what it is. It's all like woods and swamp, and those things are everywhere. And that's like my number one. Like I'm always like, that's what's going to kill me one day. They're going to get me. I'm going to be out fucking around. They're going to get me.
Idea. Are you kidding me?
I'm phobic like crazy.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
I had a pet snake growing up, so I didn't have a fear of snakes. Yeah. So my dumb head went to pick up this snake and move it because my friends were freaking out about it because I'm not afraid of a snake, not realizing that it was a baby rattlesnake. It didn't have its rattle yet. So luckily,
Oh yeah, right on. Yeah.
it was more of a surface wound. It didn't get deep enough into the bloodstream. So
Yeah.
the effects were like very minute, but I still had to go
Yeah.
to the ER and get antivenom. So that was not fun.
You did? Oh my God. I feel
Mhm.
like your body probably was going, the antivenom might have had a bigger reaction to your body than the bite
Then
itself. Who
yeah.
knows?
Or
What is in it?
my anxiety about getting the bites. They make
Yeah.
antivenom from horses, actually.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah, they make it from if look, don't quote me on this, folks. Okay, I am not a doctor.
ChatGPT will.
Okay, yeah, let's ask
Let's script the
Chat
clanker.
or Claude or whoever. Let's ask them. But I believe they inject the horses with it, and then they take the blood so that it creates the antibodies, and they separate the plasma.
Whoa.
I could be totally off here. But when I first moved out here, I went to a free desert survival skills presentation at the
Smart.
hospital.
God, that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, are you kidding? They'd be like, "Wait, didn't you come to this last week?" I'm like, "I'm back. I'm going to take it again." My writing partner and my roommate in LA, he had he didn't come from a film background in school. His degree was in venom toxicology.
Really?
So,
That's a whole degree?
yeah, it was a whole thing. Like he used to fuck around with cobras and stuff. And like he was always like he was always like hey, can we get like it was always some like fucking snake, and I'd be like, do you still want me to live here and pay half the rent? Because no, we cannot. We cannot
they
do
always
that.
escape. Maybe I've watched too many tropes. It's too many sitcom tropes, but they escape, right?
Have you not seen snakes on a plane? You're just hanging out, and then suddenly
I should worry more about that because I'm in, Denver, and it's desert also, and I love to hike. And my husband's always like, "You got to be careful of snakes because it's getting warmer, so the snakes are out." And I'm like, "Oh, snakes are out!" I'm so excited because I always see the coyotes and things, and I have these experiences, but I don't like. I think that I hike too early in the day that they're not really out. Maybe they're sunbathing.
Both of you two are way more hardcore than I am.
Yesterday I came across a red racer. He was just floating across. He was just sunning himself on my dirt road. Hero couldn't have cared less. I was actually shocked. And then I tried to get closer and it took off, and they're called red racers because they move super fast.
I was wondering if they had like a racing stripe, but no, it's just they move fast.
They move fast and they're good to have around because they eat rattlesnakes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That makes sense. We had a cat once in Seattle, of all places. It was just garter snakes, but she would get moles and garter snakes, and she was blind and deaf. And I'm like, what the heck? We ended up building a house that was a couple blocks down from that old house, and she wouldn't move out of the old house. And so we were not selling that house yet. So I would have to take the cat Starchy and move her to our house, the new house, feed her and say, "Stay here, Starchy." And she would just like walk back to the house. Like, that was annoying. And then on Christmas Day, I went to go give her, because I'd always give her cans of food because she had hardly any teeth. And there was this dirty note from the neighbor, like, "If you're going to move, you should at least move your cat." And I'm like, they have no idea how many times I've moved Starchy back over to the new house. She's been
move her every day. Yeah.
But then on Christmas morning, I went over there to give her can, and she had laid out an entire family of robins. That was her Christmas gift to me. She killed like 4 robins, and they were all laid out in front of the garage door. And I'm like, oh my God. She was like a killing machine, and she was blind and deaf.
That was a song of 4 robins dead. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. She's like, "Merry Christmas. Dead. I love you."
La, 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 la. Yeah, I know. That was
Merry
her
Christmas.
Way. She was always her own spirit, that's for sure.
Abigail, when did you end up in LA? I want to know if we were out there at the same time.
I was in LA 2007 to 2025. When were you there?
I just left.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been out for a long time then.
Yeah, like 20 years. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I had left, which I would still going back all the time, but I think I had left in like 2006, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, remember. I was out there like not quite 10 years, like 8 years, something like that.
Okay. It's a very different city now. I mean, and it's from what I hear from friends that still live there, it's just kind of declining. I mean, it's interesting because I look at it as I grew up in a small steel mill town in Ohio, Southwest Ohio, right by Kentucky. And so it was largely blue collar. A lot of my friends, their dads worked in the steel mill. And then sometime I want to say around high school, there was a merger and the steel company was bought, I think by Kawasaki, because it went from Armco to AK Steel. And there were all these strikes and like all sorts of stuff. And a lot of people lost their jobs. You know, the executive, like white collar, they kept their jobs. But a lot of the blue collar, those jobs no longer existed.
Right.
And I see a lot of parallels between what's happening in Hollywood because we had the writer's strike and then the actor's strike almost simultaneously with COVID or on the heels of COVID. And then we had the LA fires and it's like, oh my God, we just cannot catch a break.
Yeah,
and
it's really been, and I haven't been out there since before COVID. And I still have a lot of friends who work in the industry and stuff. And, they're telling me stuff that like it's hard for me even to believe because I'm just like
people that are established producers or showrunners, people that are executive level,
anything made
that are having to their houses are getting foreclosed on, and so then you kind of look at it as sort of like how is the industry shifting, and it's all sort of there's a lot. Everyone's like, oh guys, verticals are in, and I'm like, okay. That's like trash television.
And they already tried that with remember that thing what was that thing called? The first one they did? They got a lot of money behind that thing too.
Oh, the
Quibi or something. Yeah. They tried that like 4 years ago. And then they were like,
And this kind of speaks to my thesis that I dropped on Substack Notes the other day that you responded on.
which is how Abigail and I like started talking and how we met.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was fired up and I literally dropped a thesis.
I was like, I don't know if I should reply to her or if
we'll put the links to it in the show notes, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know where it is.
It was good.
It's in my notes. It's not even. It wasn't even a. It's not even a post. It was in my notes, and then I went and put it on. I went and put it on Threads because I was like, I was just so frustrated because there's always been this. It's always been this way, art versus commerce. And I was really upset because I was looking at the quality of cinema, television. I've always been drawn more to film than TV and going, what happened? Yeah. Like, we don't have no one's making a Godfather right now. No one's making that film. No one's making, if you think about these, like, Once Upon a Time in America, these epic films, Gone with the Wind, these things that, it's 100-year industry that is just sort of falling apart. And we're coming out with superhero movies and remakes. And that's, and I'm like, okay, I got it. You guys have a bottom line. You want to make money. And I am, I have friends at varying levels of the industry. As an actor, I have a little bit of credits on screen, a lot more credits in theater, and a fuck ton more, pardon my language, training. So I'm kind of in this, I'm in the industry, but I'm also somewhat outside of it. But I'm watching interviews with very established, well-known, quote unquote, celebrity actors, writers, producers, directors. And I'm like, Schindler's List, where, these epic things of storytelling that transform us, that move us, that change us. The first thing I have seen in a long time that did that for me was Hamnet.
And I hadn't seen that one yet, but I've heard nothing but good things.
It was great. So my thesis in Substack Notes, I was basically concerned that it seems we've moved more as an industry. What I see is it's moved more towards commerce than art, and we've lost the art because what's happening is we got to make the money. And so decisions are being made by people who aren't creative, don't have a creative point of view, and they're looking at a bottom line. And when you're looking at a bottom line and you're following viewer trends, you're not being a leader in this space. And if you're going to be a leader in an industry, you should be setting trends, not following them. And they're going, okay, well, no one's going to movie theaters because it's COVID, so now we're going to go streams. Okay, well, now everybody's watching stuff on their phone, so we're going to do verticals. So they're catering to the behavior of the people and appealing to the lowest common denominator, which is Yes,
not
in the short term
healthy.
is going to make a lot of money, but it's not healthy in terms of preserving our
I
cultural
agree with you.
wellness.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I could
So
not
I'm
agree with you
frustrated.
more. It's
It
very
is
frustrating.
frustrating.
It's frustrating to me as someone who's loved film since I was born, but since I saw the first movie, whatever whatever that was, and just been fascinated with like the whole everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it last night kind of, and I was because I knew we were going to talk. I was like, we lost like a whole generation of like film school kids, which is what I was, you know what I mean? And we lost with COVID and all the, everything else, we kind of lost that generation. We weren't turning out those great movies like you're talking about, like The Godfather, the things that will always be classics as far as cinema is concerned. Okay. We weren't creating things to pull people in, pull the kids in, and that the internet got them.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm really afraid that we don't have anybody who's trained to do what you're talking about anymore.
Right. Those films, those epics that are probably all on AFI's top 100 that are, it's a slower movement of storytelling where, these movies now, there's a lot more CGI, so it's less human to human. The cuts, the editing is really quick. And I even, in response to my thesis that I posted on Threads, someone commented back like, no, there's still good TV being made. And they mentioned The Pit, that had won some Emmys. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to check this out, because my first job on TV was on ER. So I was like, oh, this would be cool,
Right?
And it is a show that is still shooting in LA. And so I've worked on a John Wills production, and there's always a lot of roles for actors. It's a very actor friendly environment in terms of, the industry, because they're always hiring co-stars and guest stars. So I was like, okay, let me watch this. And the writing is great and the acting is great, but I would notice my nervous system. So the style in which it's produced is still that like quick, always moving, which is
documentary style, super fast. Yeah.
It's the nature of healthcare and working in an emergency room. So there is that reality. But I was like, okay, it's good. But where is this slower storytelling like we saw in Hamnet? Where is more of that? Because it's the mirror of what's happening on a broader scope. Like you bring, I'm full circling back.
Yeah.
Full circle back to slowing down and finding stillness.
It
and
totally
we don't
is.
know how to appreciate, cultivate, or respond to that stillness, that
I've
space.
gotten to where I almost won't attempt to watch anything. And I know this makes me sound like an old man, but I won't even attempt to watch anything that's come out recently because it's everything you just said. It's lit like shit. You know what I mean? It most of the times it's shot like shit. It's like there's a they're doing they do backgrounds like in the volume or something instead of like there's plenty of places you guys can go throw a set up. You know what I mean? It's not that hard, and like it would look normal, and the background doesn't look all muddy and gone, and it's just. There's a whole thing going on. All I do is like watch the Criterion channel now. You know what I mean?
I know that's what you were telling me. And I was like, Criterion has a channel? I need to find it.
No. And you know what? It's not, it's a bargain too. It's only like $11 a month or something.
Wow.
Yeah. And they change stuff out I've been sitting there like, I'm watching everything on there. Or like, I still have HBO Max or whatever they're calling it nowadays. And like, I watch a lot of TCM and like classic
TCM.
Well, think about like I have daughters that are 27 and 22, and they definitely, because my dad had a big influence on them. It was like, okay, Gary Riley, Grandpa Gary's coming into town, and he would always pull out his like The Day the Earth Stood Still. He'd bring half of his suitcase was full of VCR or DVD player cassettes that we could sit and watch together with Grandpa Gary. And those are some of their best memories. But also it's like, I think about what you were saying at the top, Abigail, about the person in the industry saying it's 2 seconds now that we give them this, they've retrained the brain. I think we need to push that a bit, because I think about all of the classics, even the silly, campy B reels that my dad would bring that were such good memories for all of us. And we would sit in cinema, send them together, and just the jokes we made. But if you can't last for a few seconds, you can't get through to any of those movies on any of the classics lists, the best, the worst, and the in between. And what that translates into is life. Like, we need to give each other more than that attention. Like, this is not, we're robbing ourselves. Sometimes it's the long game, folks. Everything worth doing is a long game. I think about books. Like, books are better than movies in 99% of the time. And it takes more time to ingest it, but you get so much more out of it. And you can gnash on it in between the times. Okay, I can't read the book. I don't have time for it now, but I'm thinking about the characters and the backstory. And now I'm thinking about the victimology and the this and that, whatever the things are. Like, we're robbing ourselves of that experience, the human experience. I think that this 2 second thing, that's more like robot clanker training than us as human beings. And it scares me. Like, everything worth doing. I could go through a laundry list of even the shitty, awful struggles that, if somebody else was to look at it from the outside in the last 6 months, my family's gone through, those actually are the memories. I was talking to my husband about it yesterday. It's like, this year hasn't been a year of us going, I'm going to start crying, us going on a big trip or anything. But the things that I remember so acutely from this year are these conversations I had with my adult kids across the kitchen table or across the dining room table that were like real, authentic, and in depth. And those are the moments that I'm going to carry that to my grave. I was talking to him about it. I'm like, there's like, if I look back at this last year, some people would say it was an awful year, a traumatic year. It's like, God, it was an amazing year. We've never felt closer than ever to our grown kids and their partners. And that's the good stuff, man. So I think that it relates, our lack of having any attention span on other things. It's impacting our relationships with the people that matter, the animals that matter in our lives, the plants that matter.
You took the word, the message directly out of my mouth, because I was like, that's why I am so passionate about the work I do with animals and about the work I do with people. Because when you are sitting with someone in silence, because my energy work sound sessions, I'm normally silent unless I'm, doing my singing for part of the sound healing, but for me, it's more about giving that person the time and space they're forgetting to give themselves, to open them up to receive their own insight and guidance. Because a lot of people, like, especially when I do group stuff, they're like, so did you like get anything or like any messages for me? And I'm like, that's not how I work. I'm like, I'm literally I'm opening the door for you. And I know that that's part of my work. And you can walk through the door or not walk through the door. My answers are not your answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's beautiful.
It's the same thing with animals, because animals are so present and they are so sensitive to energy, and they have a much deeper understanding of life and death not being such a scary, painful finality that we humans make it. They have so much to teach us about that connection, and about slowing down and breathing. And, I had a couple that I worked with maybe a couple months ago, and one of the members of the couple reached out to me, and said, hey, I have a question. Do you have time for a call? I'm like, sure, absolutely. And this person proceeded to ask me if I knew what a spiritual awakening was, because they grew up in a very conservative type of life.
Oh, so it was new to them.
And they were really scared, and their partner was not experiencing the same thing. And so I, gave the best, sent them some resources to further research because I said, look, everyone makes it out like this work I do is woo-woo, but Reiki is there are literally jobs in Ohio, because I saw them on Indeed or whatever, of Reiki practitioners that they're hiring to work in hospitals and hospice care centers because of the benefits of it. I know, and I have had clients who are nurses that are Reiki attuned. So my whole thing is, because I get a lot of newbies out here that book through Airbnb on top of like my remote clientele that's all over. And so I'm always very careful in the way that I explain the work, because I don't want them to have a judgment on or be scared of it because it sounds woo or spiritual, and be like, hey, no, this is like totally accessible, and it helps mind, it helps body, it and also spirit. And so that's sort of kind of what we were talking about at the beginning, like feeling like I have to show you the way. I sort of had to make peace and go, okay, my job is just to show up and open the door. That's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if they come back, it's to continue to sort of go, okay, well, here's the map. Here's the next stop. What are you getting out of this? So that's kind of the way I look at my work now. And the same with animals, because every animal session I do is almost always has something to do, like any sort of animal that has a quote unquote behavioral issue. When I talk to them, the way they experience it, they don't experience a behavioral issue. They're either mirroring some emotional state of the owner. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah. Can you get into that a little bit more? Because that's really interesting to me. And I think it would be interesting to a lot of people. Everybody out there, has pets and love pets, and of what you're actually like, how does that work? What are your experiences with that?
Well, especially in rescue, because right now I volunteer at a no-kill shelter out here in the high desert, but I live up the road from the city kill shelter.
Oh my gosh, that's heavy. Wow.
And I have been to far too many town council animal shelter committee meetings for that location, and the city leadership just does not want to hear what the community has to say. And I came in the middle, like the community, there was already a huge community out here that was upset about what was going on. There were very high euthanasia rates and dogs that were being underfed, and so many issues that will not be solved by Reiki. Yeah. However, what I have noticed is I've had the blessing and the chance to be present and offer Reiki to animals that are labeled as human aggressive, as dog aggressive, that are highly stressed. And sometimes not sometimes, it is more difficult to communicate with an animal in that state. So sometimes just offering the Reiki allows them to calm down enough that somebody from rescue can get a slip lead on, guide them out, and get them over to, the safe shelter where they're going to get adopted and cared for and rehabilitated. So that is one of the biggest things I've noticed. And really, the biggest thing is it's giving the animal autonomy. We culturally look at pets as property. I mean, that's legally how it is in the law. So oftentimes, like, with behavioral issues, it's situational. A lot of it does involve the human changing.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, right? Most often, would you say?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's always a human issue, not an animal issue. And not in a blaming or a negative way, but just understanding what kind of energy you're broadcasting, and also understanding the history of the animal. If an animal has been through it, like a lot of people, rescue or adopt animals from shelters, and those animals have trauma histories that may stay with them forever, regardless of any work that I do with them. But they may also shift and may just need more time than normal, whatever normal is, to adjust to the new home. If you're dealing with a home where there's multiple pets, you have a hierarchy, you have breed specific things that are going on as well. So, it really is sort of an individual case. So what I do is I just make it my job to communicate what the animal is feeling and thinking and wants to express, and how they see it, and then sort of offer them the opportunity to share and then go, okay, so, and part of what happens is I was having a conversation with a friend about this who does psychic work, why she's doing sound healing. And I go, that's so interesting, because how I started communicating with animals was when I was doing volunteer work with them, just doing Reiki. And so the animals really trained me, and I didn't start reading about it or studying other teachers until it happened for me spontaneously. And I went, and obviously also big shout out and big thank you always to Rachel, who was like, I think this is a thing. Why don't you do a practice session on my dog? And I'm like, what?
I think that's beautiful what you're doing, because
I do too.
It's something that I didn't even really know it was a thing.
I didn't either.
But now that you're talking about it and you're explaining it, I'm like, well, of course that should be a thing.
Mm-hmm. All animals communicate telepathically. That's their innate way of communicating. And it might be our innate way of communicating, but we just, like we said earlier, it gets programmed out of us. So part of it is very much like cult deprogramming. You have to deprogram yourself from the cultural beliefs around animals and because sometimes they say wild things to me and I have to go like, okay, stop, just trust it. And it's there. And I'll share it with the owner. Like, I don't know how this is going to go. Like recently I had to share something where the animal wanted to tell one of its humans that, like, I don't remember it word for word, but it was something like, just like chill out a little bit, or whatever it was. And I said it and I was like, I don't know what this is. And the owner was like, oh yeah, that tracks. And I was like, okay.
You're just delivering the message. Well,
I'm like, don't shoot the message.
But that helps both of them though. Cause then they're like, well, you know what? Yeah.
Well, you have to be like,
right.
I think that, people need to be responsible with their energies, and because our animals around us are so much more sensitive, and they just like, they absorb things. It's almost like charcoal that they absorb that stuff. And we need to be really conscious of what we're putting out there. I have this cat that my daughter, who's a grad student, my younger daughter, she's a grad student. And so when she went off to college, she was like, her cat is epileptic. And so it's dosing 2 times a day. And then there's like epileptic seizures that he goes through. And he's like Buddha. We call him Buddha, even though his name is Opal Storm. But when, even before my daughter went off to college, it was like, it always was me that every 12 hours, my alarm went off on my phone and I had this dynamic and I had this epiphany of like, what am I doing? I'm poisoning him. And because I'm so bitter and mad, it's like, it's a privilege that he trusts me with his care and that he trusts that I'm going to show up with the right dosage every 12 hours to contain his seizures and his epilepsy. And it changed everything. And our relationship became this beautiful thing. And I'm like, gosh, I'm so sorry. I was like for years going, it has to be me. I've got to be home 7 and 7, FML. And it's like, no, it's an honor. And I can truly say every day, I'm like, okay, Opal, it's me. It's that time and you get a treat, but I've got to do the thing. And he's just like, I get it, Jen. Thank you. And we have this beautiful relationship. So that's the thing I would just push back to on human beings is just, they know like stuff that we're not even aware of, we're oblivious to because we're in scroll mode or whatever mode they are picking up on. And so last night I had Sam, the sky guy, did my birth chart and he didn't know, and I didn't know where it was going to go. But there was this part where he was talking about my very first Saturn return. He goes, what happened on this day? I said, oh, I don't know what that date is. That doesn't mean anything to me. And Cooper was like, crazy. It's like I told Jesse before we started recording, it's like he was on uppers. He was like running up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs, like hyped up, like get this off of me. Almost like he had something on him he didn't want. And I realized now both my ears are ringing. So I'm confirmed about that. He knew before both of us knew what energy was going to come forward because it showed up in my chart for my first Saturn return. And I go, oh, Sam, I know exactly what that was. And we talked about it. I go, I know, and I don't want to name the energy because it was so dark and those attachments were so dark and deep that literally my older daughter and I have had to keep doing like our own like magic to like make sure those things are banished forever and not. And so I didn't even want to name it, but Cooper knew it was going to come up. That energy was going to be kind of bubble up a bit, and he was already reacting to it. So I would just push to every single person listening, be really thoughtful and conscientious and responsible for your energies.
Yeah, I always tell people, especially if it's like a behavioral issue, and I say, well, if you're constantly frustrated, if you're like, oh man, the dog's going to do this again, and you see that in your mind, the dog is seeing that, and they think that's what you want them to do.
You're exactly right.
So they're just doing, and I mean, I've worked with all types of animals, but mostly I get dogs and cats, but I love working with horses.
Oh, I love horses.
But they see that. And the other thing is they often, what you were saying, they, like Cooper was doing, is they interrupt.
Yeah.
So, and they are the mirrors, because there is this parallel. Like you think about, some of these animals that are traumatized in rescue and they're at high cortisol, they're in that fight or flight. And you think about when humans are in fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
So they very much become the mirrors to show us what are, like you just said, what are we not conscious of that's going on internally? Like Hero, one of her reasons for being here with me is for me to confront my own fear. And this has to do with a cat that I lost when I was 5, which was sort of my initiation into death. And she's the reason that I started doing animal mediumship. And she sent me Hero. She told me this. So I was like, okay. And so I'm like, and I tried to avoid the mediumship. I was like, I don't want to talk to deceased animals. I don't want to deal. And they were like, yeah, sorry.
We're talking whether you like it or not. Yeah.
But I think animals are some of our greatest teachers. We just have to learn how to listen. And so my goal is not necessarily, because sometimes people ask questions and I'm like, well, I can't really do that for you, or I don't have that answer for you because that isn't really the way this works. And that does ping my need to please wound, that old wound where I'm like, oh, and I'm like, but that's not how the dynamic is between, animals.
Look, we all have that
thing
you're talking about.
Yeah. It's
and
not
we've all pretty recently gone through some sort of weird trauma, I mean, we're all kind of on the same page with all this stuff right now.
Yeah. But I did want to ask you something, Jennifer. You mentioned like that date and the thing with your daughter.
Yeah.
And you can answer this or not, or edit it out later.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the dark energy and the attachments and having to do work to make sure. Were you able to remove your own? Because I was able to remove some of my attachments or entities or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, does anyone else do this? Or
Yeah. I mean, it took a lot of time. And, what was interesting to me is the forces that helped they were the most powerful were shadow and light. And so it would be like a Baphomet and an Azrael Raziel kind of combination. And so I'm sure there's people out there, if they're very fundamentalist Christian or like Baphomet's the devil or whatever, it's like he comes with lessons and arsenal energy that I needed to be holding a boundary and to also be able to look backward and recognize that, there's a sense of forgiveness of like not seeing it at the time, that this person came and was doing this black magic that was specifically targeted to us to kill us. And so, it was like, there's a forgiveness there because I'm a very loving, trusting person. And it wasn't something that brought on to me or my eldest. We've had this kind of journey together where my eldest and I will have parallel journeys and we won't realize it till we're decompressing and going, I got to talk to you. Let's go have lunch or let's go do a hike or whatever. And then we're like, whoa, that was really similar to what I just went through. And I think it's connected. So for me, I think that what would make people uncomfortable maybe if they hear it is that I had to use darkness and light to fully and completely be able and harness it within myself. It's like I'm not just a bright, shiny thing. I actually am a bunny rabbit with teeth. And so I can be really tough and strong. And I had to use all of that myself to be done with it. Yeah. So, but it was interesting because when he was saying it on the chart, he gave me a specific date of the, Saturn return. And I went, well, Nora was 8 months old and I love being a mom. I mean, there's nothing I love better in the world. That's why I'm everybody's mom, Mama Hoax is what a lot of people call me because that's
I love that.
who I am. Right. But, and so I went, oh, nothing was wrong. And then I went, oh, actually, that's interesting. And I had forgot that this person, the family said, can you have a place for this person to live for a period of time and kind of befriend them and help them to figure out Seattle since they're new to it and maybe places to live. And so we dutifully were this. And it was like, that's when the black magic began because they were in the home and they were putting these things there. So I just have to tell you that 5 years ago when my younger daughter had, still both of my daughters have Joshes as their partners and their Josh, isn't that funny? So I'm like, that. This is so great. It's so easy for us parents, but their Josh actually lived in that house because we were renting it out at the time. And we were like, if you want to be out of your home during the lockdown and working and things, because he was graduated from high school. And he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. And he was like, oh, there's things like stomping around. Like it's like a person stomping around. And then in the kitchen, I'll be in bed. Nobody's in the house. There's not even pots and pans and things. And there's pots and pans slamming around, like somebody's fighting and throwing things around. And I'm like, yeah, it exists there. And, it exists. Yeah, it exists there. And so he said, I can't live here anymore. He said, I just can't live here anymore. And then we had a second person, again, a young man in college, and he doesn't, really buy into this stuff. And he was just like, whoa, there's a ghost. Do you know that there's a ghost in your house? I'm like, yeah, we know. It's malevolent and it's like residual stuff, but it's connected to a human being and everything. So yeah, where my eldest worked with somebody in England who did a very deep, flushing out of that. And for me, it had to be me that did it alone. Cause I'm like, I think it was because I needed to be on this journey of going light and dark. There is no shadow part of myself that I don't want to harness because it's a superpower too. And I'm going to stop hiding it. So yeah. So yeah, he saw it in my chart. It's like
it's really interesting and cool though that you were able to do that too, Abigail, because I don't think that's very common, or you don't hear about that.
Well, and I was curious, and it's not a conversation you can have with people, and that's why I
usually
think why I mentioned earlier about many of these systems, medicine, psychology, psychiatry failing us because they don't have the full answer. Is I had a lot of quote unquote mental health struggles. That's one framework to look at it when I was a teenager, but it was on the tails of a lot of drug and alcohol abuse, which obviously opens your energy field up for things. And when this was back in 2023, maybe, I remember I was having these thoughts and I went, hold on, that's not me, because they reminded me of, I keep all my journals because I'm psychotic like that. It reminded me of journal entries that I was doing. That's why we all get along. We all raised our hands.
Ryder, sorry.
It reminded me of these journal entries I had from my teenage years. And they were, feelings of of shadow, like hatred and jealousy. And I was like, where does that come from? And I thought that then, I felt guilty about having those feelings. And then when they started popping back up, I went, wait a second, this isn't me. And I was like, and I had already started kind of practicing shamanism, working with shamanism for myself. And I had done a few journeys, and my first guide was all like, it's time to confront the monsters under the bed. And I was like, well, similar to Hero's purpose with me, it's all about confronting my fear and working with fear. And once hey, wait, this isn't me. Then the disruption started happening where like I would get woken up in the middle of the night, like someone was, putting a wet willy in my ear. And I was like, that's not okay. Like, don't touch me. And then I had to learn, I think part of it was just my awareness that sort of lifted, like it switched the energy. So it became unattached, but then I think it got upset. So it kept fucking with me. And I was like, no, no, no. And I just used all my tools that I had. And because I had, done some soul retrievals through my shamanic work, it changed part of that. And my dad worked in mental health for many years. That's where he used his astrology. And I listened to a really interesting, I'll try and find it and send it to you guys, really interesting YouTube interview between some, gentlemen who did mental health in prisons, when that's what my dad did, with people, and would talk about these strange entity type things that he would notice occurring when he would work with some of these clients that were murderers or had like schizophrenia or whatever. And that's why I'm like, I'm not saying poo-poo to mental health, and I'm not saying people shouldn't be medicated if that's what they feel they need, but I'm saying we shouldn't rely on that as the only answer, because I think there's a lot of things that are linked to mental health that are beyond brain chemistry, that are energetic in nature, that things like soul retrievals or extractions are actually more appropriate, whether to be used in combination or not. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of combining modalities.
Me too.
I've been in therapy for the last 5 years, but I was also getting acupuncture, sound healing, doing self Reiki, crystal healing, flower essences. I told Rachel White this, I had a spontaneous soul retrieval during an EMDR session after like a week or two after I started taking her flower essence, Reclaim Yourself.
Wow.
Shout out
Holy
Rachel.
smokes.
Go buy it on her Etsy
Really?
shop. Yeah.
Whew.
And my parents gave me flower essences as a kid. So I was already familiar. Like I was like, oh yeah, Bach remedies? Like, oh yeah.
I'll do that. And then here it did this. But for me, I can only speak from my own experience. I feel like part of it that I'm just finally working through. I mean, it took me to 56 to figure this out, but it's like there was a part of me that also identified as I would grow the cords to kind of keep that connection, that attachment, because I was like, I was a victim. How dare they? This is my story. And now it just feels like it's like I'm talking about a book I wrote, a storyline there, because I'm so unattached to it. It's like I don't feed off that anymore. And I don't, so it really was a boundary. But I noticed that some of the modalities I used, it was like, I always made a joke because I don't know, somewhere in a mission in California, we bought a thing of holy water
on a dark desert highway. Cool wind in your hair.
And I would go after
the warm smell of what is it? Colitas?
Colitas. Yeah.
Okay.
Rising up in the air.
But I would try to sprinkle it on Cooper and he'd run away. And I'm like, are you going to sizzle? Are you going to sizzle? And I always called it that. It was always a funny joke between us. But there were certain modalities as I was like doing the cleansing, clearing, cutting all the cords and just like getting rid of that energy once and for all. And also is I would go, I don't want that energy away and get that modality away from me. And that's when I realized, oh no, that's the one I need the most. So then I go into that medicine and that's the thing that was most impactful. But then the last thing that I did that I thought was so powerful, and so I do this often now, is I use amnesia. It's the beautiful thing about turning 50 is you become kind of
amnesia.
Yes, I use amnesia in my spell casting now. So I have this disco ball that I create around me and these energies that want to find, if they ever want to find me again, if they touch it, first of all, either they are like intoxicated by their own countenance, their own, their own reflection in this beautiful disco ball. And they're like, so they are like distracted. And if they touch it, then they have amnesia. So they forget what they were even going after, that I was even a target. So this has become my medicine now with what I do.
Love that. Mm-hmm. I want to learn how to do that.
Well, you just did. So you just picture like, any protective bubble that you hear about, whether it's at the beginning of a meditation or Reiki. And a lot of people say it's a white light, or you feel it pouring into the crown of your head and through your body. Well, you can also then create the bubble. And then outside of the bubble, I create this like disco ball with all these little mirrored pieces. And then outside of the disco ball, then I create this like extra shell that it's like gooey shell that they touch it, and it gives that entity amnesia. They forget the target. So that's
I love that. I'm like a big old nerd with numbers. Like I'm obsessed with numbers. Like 5 has always been my lucky number since I was little.
That's my lucky number 2. That's hilarious.
But okay, I've really moved into loving 6 because it's all about harmony. So now what I do is I actually create a honeycomb of light.
Oh, I love this. Have you ever looked up Andrew Gough, Gough? He has this whole blog post about the medicine of bees and honeycombs, and it is amazing. And it goes with the number 6 because I love the number 6, and lately also 6 was stigmatized, right? I remember the first time 666 showed up for me, and I went, "Oh gosh, that's bad."
No,
and then it's like,
that's
no, it's
actually great.
know
it's perfect harmony. Well, it's because I worked with someone to work on my PTSD in 2024. Amazing person. His name is Nacho Aramani. It's the Aramani method, and he created this method that is essentially similar to bilateral stimulation, but your body is doing the movement and you're using your voice as well. And what I found is it really returns some of those skills for me in terms of like sound having color and some of those things, but also bringing everything into focus and harmony and balance. And so when one day after we finished a session, he's in Topanga, California, he had his doors open because he lives like in a beautiful forest. And this bee comes flying in, and I just hold my hand out and I'm looking at the bee and I tell it telepathically, like, just come say hello. And it lands right on my hand. And he and I are like, oh. So I have a whole thing with bees now too.
It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Well, do you use honey as medicine? I don't know.
I do. I have it in my coffee every morning.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bees that are out here that I always try to leave water for. And since that time, there's been a few more instances where they come and they land on me and I'm like, oh, okay, you're here to tell me something special, you know?
Yes.
On my birthday this year, I went hiking in the park and I got out of my car and these bees just like swarmed me. And I was like, I'm not wearing any perfume. I don't even have color on. And I'm like, what's happening? And
it's because you're that sweet.
I know.
That's what my grandma would say. Right? You're so sweet.
Okay, I have one more. I know we're running kind of late. So before you let us know, every listener, where we can find you and get in touch with you and see your art, I had one more really weird question that popped up for me. Do you dream differently now that you live in the desert?
I don't know. I guess I would say the answer is yes and no.
Yeah.
Now you'll be thinking about it though.
Yeah, I've definitely had dreams here that I have not had before. But I also have 2 decades ago when I was in college, I lived in Italy for a summer to study abroad. And it was life-changing. I've definitely had a past life there. It was a brief amount of time spent, but it felt like forever. And the second I put my foot on the ground there, I went, I'm home. And I have no Italian blood. I mean, I'm, Scandinavian and Germanic Celtic. That's my bloodline on both sides. So I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but like I've been here and I felt so at home. And over the last, 8 to 10 years, I consistently have dreams about Italy. So those still come.
Wow.
But I have had some new dreams where I'm like, what in the world?
We talked about it. You're a writer too. So you have a dream journal, right? Do you do that separately from your other journal?
So, oh my God, I have so many journals. It's bad.
You're talking to the right people. It's a good addiction.
There's a whole stack of them right there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, this is for my morning pages that I rip up and throw away.
And then this is for my angels.
This is for my special. And this is like my psychic signs and synchronicities. This is my creative ideas. Like, it's exhausting. So I actually voice memo my dreams.
It's like, now I take this thing with me every time I leave the house.
It says field book for, since it's audio.
I'm trying to write stuff down instead of fuck with my phone all the time.
Well, once somebody, look, this is embarrassing, but I learned from my writing teacher a few months ago that you can transcribe your voice memos. And I was like, what?
Yeah, you actually can. Yeah.
How many years have I been leaving myself voice memos? And I did not know you could transcribe them, copy and paste them into your notes app, and turn them into a Substack article.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Well, speaking of Substack, so tell everybody listening where they can find you.
The best place to find me is Substack and my website. My website is sacredhealingartla.com. And that's where you can book a session for yourself, your animal. You can buy artwork. There's a link to my Etsy shop in case you want to buy some of the apothecary aromatherapy that I have there. There's guided meditations. And then my Substack is where I sort of share more. So it's poetry, it's artwork, it's thoughts on the current state of humanity and what spirituality. It can be a rant, or as I call them, ramble dambles.
Congratulations on your poetry book getting published, by the way.
So it's a poem, it's some artwork and a couple of poems of mine that I submitted to an arts and literary journal, and they are going to publish it, I think, like next month or something. So I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm officially a published poet. But Substack, yes, it's This Awakened Life, and I think the URL is just my name, AbigailKochunas.com. I'm not spelling it for y'all. They'll put it.
I'll put in links in the show notes.
We'll find it.
Well, we love you, and we are so glad you took time out to sit with us for a bit.
Yeah, I know we went long today, but we just.
Matter.
When I saw that live with you and Rachel, I was like, these two are a fucking party, and I want to be part of this party.
That's what everybody tells us. And
that makes me so happy.
We're just
having fun doing this.
Just trying to be normal, or whatever.
Just trying to be a bright spot right now. Yeah.
And I think that's what we need. And it's real. Like, I think people should stop defaulting to the top 10 whatever, influencers, podcasts, books, movies. Like, step outside what you're being fed and start exploring these pockets of people who are full of wisdom and experience that aren't necessarily whitewashed into sound bites.
Fucking clankers. Fucking clankers.